where I was going around a little curve, and I started hydroplaning, and I remember like my back end kind of flying out from around, and then I remember feeling this big like jolt, and then I blacked out.
A 14-year-old witness to the accident crawled in the car and found Stephanie's cell phone to call 911 and her parents.
911, what's your emergency?
When we got there, the car was upside down and the roof had been smashed to the top of the door handles.
Kind of freaked out, I guess. I just slammed the car in park and ran over there to her and got up under there, and I told Steffi, "It's all right, sweetie, you know, I'm gonna get you out of here."
Paramedics used the jaws of life to cut her out of the car. The ambulance took her to the trauma unit at Vanderbilt Hospital.
When she came in, I recall her because she had unusual neurologic findings, that she was pretty paralyzed on one side of her body.
Immediate MRI showed fractures at the C5, 6, and C7 levels.
The doctor told us that she was paralyzed, and she was actually diagnosed as an incomplete quadriplegic.
Pretty soon after that, she went to the operating room. Combined procedure, having a craniotomy, making a cut in the brain through the skull into the brain, and evacuated the blood clot that was surrounding her brain, and then fixing her, stabilizing her neck. Basically, her cervical spine was fractured and it was dislocated, so they had to put it back into place to get the compression off the spinal cord and then fuse it in place.
Vanderbilt ICU kept Stephanie for 8 days before she was stable enough to fly to a brain and spinal cord injury rehabilitation center in Atlanta, Georgia.
They told me that the Shepherd Center is, specialized for spinal cord injuries, and they've seen a lot of miracles there. And so I was just like, that's where I want to be.
However, the magnitude of Stephanie's injuries made her chances for full recovery slim.
The majority of people that have a spinal cord injury, that they have neurologic deficit, meaning that they have no movement, the chance of that coming back is very low, like less than 5%.
Stephanie's family and friends never gave up praying for a full recovery.
We completely put it all in God's hands.
Stephanie's initial gains in mobility were impressive.
As my spinal cord heals, the signals that come from my brain down my spinal cord to the muscle, they slowly start to recover and the signals get clearer.
Muscle and strength recovery were painfully slow.
I got frustrated a lot because I'm the type of person that I like to be independent and I like to do things on my own, and the whole time I was there, I had to have everybody do everything for me. Instead of, waiting on my mind to do it, my body waiting on my mind, it was my mind waiting on my body to let me move. Because I was just like, okay, all I have to do is bend this finger. Okay, body, why isn't it working? So it's like I knew how to do it. My brain was sending the signals, but they were just very, shattered.
Stephanie's support system cheered her on with each new muscle she moved.
I guess about 2 weeks after her accident, we were standing there and she was just like, "Jeanette, I flexed my muscle," and she's like, "Touch it, feel it." And I just started crying, I was so happy. I was like, praise the Lord. This is what we've been waiting for.
Got this leaf off of flowers that she had in there, and I started tickling her foot, and she started laughing. We were all kidding around, just out of nowhere. Kind of like we're reliving the moment here. But she started moving her toes and moved her foot and lifted her whole leg up off the bed just like that.
It might have been midnight, it might have been 2 o'clock in the morning, at lunchtime. I can feel it. I can feel my muscle.
Physical and occupational therapists worked with Stephanie for hours each day. Just 98 days after her initial injury, the once paralyzed Stephanie Beard walked out of the Shepherd Center with only a slight limp.
This is definitely a miracle, but that was always my prayer, for God to please show this as a miracle with a speedy recovery.
The majority of spinal cord injuries, whatever neurologic deficit you have when you come in, is what you get. and that's it. So she's extremely fortunate.
Stephanie's passion before the accident was dancing with her high school dance team.
Towards the end, one of my biggest goals was to be able to dance again. In the beginning, I wasn't sure if I was going to meet that goal, but toward the end, when I was in the treadmill program, I started having hopes.
Stephanie returned to school and dance practice in the fall of her senior year.
I ended up dancing at the first basketball game that we had.
I think the first time I saw her dance was the first time she danced with the team. So I was there. And I was just, you can imagine, I mean, Lord, I was just crying like crazy, you know. It was real moving. Because it hadn't been that long since we were in the hospital with her.
Yeah, I definitely feel like a walking miracle, because I do know how much worse it could have been. I realized, you know, the small things in life really matter. Please just be thankful for what you have. God is everything. He's everything. He's the beginning and He's the end. He's, you know, if you don't know God, then you need to.